Hello. Today I'm going to discuss about the module 3 of our course Design Thinking and Data Driven Storytelling. So far you have already understood what is design thinking, and after that in the module 2 we have also learned what is data driven storytelling. In the third module we will be seeing how do we select an effective visual tools for visualization and also for data driven storytelling. A tool helps us in communicating our analyzed data and take that findings to the right audience. This module 3 we will be covering in using 4 sessions, and let's see that what all we are going to learn in this. Choosing an effective visual for data-driven storytelling. What are the techniques? What are the methods? What are the guidelines? And how should we select a right visual for communicating our data-driven story? It may be a simple text, table, heat maps, points, lines, graphs and charts, bars, and what are the ethics and data visualizations that you need to follow, and we will discuss this with the help of case discussions. So this all will be our coverage in module 3 of this particular subject, data driven storytelling. We will be learning each of these topics, each of these concepts in our separate sessions, but I will give you a brief fair idea about this module, and we will try to understand that what all we are going to learn in this particular module. Choosing an effective visual for data-driven storytelling. Data visualizations, as you all know, involves interpreting data, simple, easy to understand information by using visuals. That means your data should look like simple, and your information should give you a lot of meaningful information, meaningful hidden insights, and it should get represented with the visuals. So that's called data visualization. Why data visualization is so important in the today's world? Let's try to understand. Visual data helps us to think, and it helps us in communicate. If you show us a lot of text data in the form of tables, reports, it will not force you to think. Whereas if you represent the same data in the visual form, what will happen? It will force you, it will help you, it will help us to think about the utilizations of the findings and how I can take the right decisions, right actions, and it also helps us in communicate clearly. As you all know, a picture tells a story better than 1,000 words could. So a picture tells us a lot of information, whereas 1,000 words may not be able to communicate the same meaning. By visualizing your data, you can communicate your story more effectively. So that means visualizations plays a very important role in terms of communicating our story to our audience. There are 4 key factors that we need to consider. There are 4 key questions also for successful visualizations. What are the key factors? What is the story your data is trying to tell? What is the story that your data is trying to tell? Take an example. Let's suppose marketing data driven story. Now, what is the marketing data that is going to tell in my storytelling? Is my market of certain products or certain services are going down, or it is catching up? I am entering into a new market. I am entering into the emerging areas. Is it positive? It is negative for the business continuity, business outcomes. So what is that you are going to tell using your story in your data driven story? Now, when you do this, you need to understand that what are the type of data that you like to use and explain. Okay. Now, the most important thing is who is your audience. Is the audience is your internal customer? Is your audience is your top management, middle management, or your operational level people, or you are communicating this to your shareholders, or you are communicating to the public at large? So you need to know your audience. So if you know your audience, you also need to relate that what is the story that I would like to tell to my audience, and to tell the story, what is the type of data that I am going to use. Very important. So these are the very important key factors which can help you to make your data visualization and storytelling more effective. What charts and type will display your data in the simplest and the most efficient way? How do you select a tool to represent your data? So these are the four things. What story that you'd like to tell, and how that story will be communicated by what type of data, who is your audience, and what tool you are going to use to communicate this story to your audience. So what is the story? All data tells a story. Data visualization makes a story easy to understand. Always, if I show you a sales performance report of a particular zone, or all the 4 zones of the country, what will happen? That data will start telling you some story. Okay, and you need to understand that, you need to interpret that. At the same time, if you represent the same thing with the help of data visualization, it will become very easy. It will make you more easy to understand that. Okay, are sales up or down? Is the birth rate on the increase? Are expenses under control? So can you represent this with the help of visualization? Yes, if you can visualize this, and you know share this with your right type of audience, what will happen? It will communicate, and the people will be able to understand the hidden meaning from that data. One of the most important uh, you know factor to consider while data visualization and storytelling is understand your audience. Okay, are you presenting to a board of directors, or you are representing to a healthcare professional, or you are representing to your colleagues, your juniors? You need to know that what data you are representing to which type of audience. So based on that, your visualization tool, your storytelling approach will change. You need to customize accordingly. There are multiple tools which we can use. Some of the tools, some of the chart which is used for communicating, for displaying your data efficiently are pie charts, line graphs, bubble graphs, bar graphs, scatter graphs, heat maps, etc., etc. Each of these tools will communicate a right group of information to the right set of people. Why visualize with graphs? Graphs allows us to get straight to the point. A simple graph can tell a story of 1,000 words. If you are using, will allow to show the trends, patterns, and exceptions. So like take this as an exception by bar chart. So what is gets represented with the help of charts and graphs, that it shows a right type of trend in my activities which are getting represented with my data. So what are the four keys to data visualization? Tell a story, explain the data simply, speak to your audience, choose the right visual, the chart for effective communication. These are the four keys for the data visualization. Tell a story. We will take up some examples. I'll give you some problem where you need to create a story, data driven business story, and you need to identify what type of data that you need to select, how you are going to select the data. Maybe you will have a 20 Excel data sets. Out of that, you may have to select few data elements and use that in a simple way based upon the audience. Maybe your audience will be 2, 3, 4 different types, and accordingly you need to customize your the graphs or the tools of visualization. So remember these four keys for the best data visualization. Tell a story. Don't show a graph without having a story behind it. Explain the data in a very simple way. And for that, if you need to do some sort of transformation of data, you can do so. Okay? You need to transform the data and transform the data in a simple way so that you can relate that for extracting insights. Understand that when you are presenting your visuals, you are communicating to your audience. Your visual will speak, and that will make an impact, and that will help the organization to take the right decision, or the people who are consuming your data with the help of visualizations, they will be able to take the right decisions. So what are the goals for data visualization? To make large data set coherent, it represents huge amounts of data and information compactly. You need to present the information from various viewpoints. These are all tricks that you need to understand. Present information at several levels of detail, support visual comparisons, and tell stories about the data. Tell stories about the data. That means from sources to collection to storing to processing to representing, the entire flow need to be explained with the help of some sort of story. So that's called tell stories about the data. Now why do you need to do visualization? Use the eye for pattern recognition. People are good at scanning, recognizing, and remembering images. Always remember, people are they always like to recognize pattern, people. Okay, and it become easy if you can scan, recognize, and remembering the images. Graphical elements facilitate comparisons via length, shape, orientation, and texture. Animation shows changes across the time. Color helps to make distinctions. By using the colors, we will study this in another module, that how color makes an impact, how these animations, how the closeness of the different objects makes an impact on our thinking process, and how do we take actions accordingly. Aesthetics makes the process appealing. If your representation of the visualized data in the form of either report or any sort of graphs or any sort of visual form, aesthetics will make a lot of appealing. You need to think about the aesthetics, how you can add value. So like take an example, some graphs which will help you to represent huge volume of data in the form of see this one, this is scattered. So use this graph to represent a visual display that illustrates one of the more relationship among entities. Okay, a shorthand way to represent present information. It allows you to show the trend, pattern, or comparison easily. So these are the types of symbolic displays. Graphs, you can, charts. You can also represent various charts. You can also use maps, and you can also use diagrams to represent various compiled data in a pictorial representations. When you create and visualize the data, you can put a series of visualized, graphs, so that it will create a story. And what is the process? Identify the business problem, extract the data set. Now, how do you extract the data set? We have already studied about this. How do you extract the data set? And then select the right visuals, use the visuals to tell a story. This looks very simple, but it is a very tedious job. It is a very difficult job to come from here, from problem to storytelling. We will see that how in a real life situation we can use the visuals for storytelling using these simple stages of business problem to storytelling. Now this particular diagram when we will see, this helps us the different data visualizations, relationship, comparisons, compositions, and distribution. I will share you this graph. So based upon these comparisons, what are the type of graphs that you can see? We will study this. We will take up the data sets and we will show that this is the relationship data. Can I draw a scattered diagram? Why this scattered diagram will help us in taking interference from the data sets. If it is a compositions, what type of data, what type of representation that we can use. If it is a distribution, you can use this sort of representation. If it is a comparison, and under comparison, what type of representation we can use. So this will help us in understanding, based upon the problem definition, we'll be able to use a particular type of visualization for storytelling. This all we are going to learn in this module, session by session, and we will also take up some live example cases, and we'll see that how we can apply this concept for making an effective data visualization and storytelling. So that's all we will be seeing in this particular module. This module will help us in selecting the right visual and how the right visual will communicate the story behind my data. So that's the objective for this particular module. This we will be covering in 4 sessions. So we will take up the questions when we will continue with the sessions. Thank you very much, and we will see soon at the time of interacting with you while we will start this particular module. Thank you very much.